Hey, Stephen here with Coping with COVID, 15-minute power podcast with a powerful guest and a powerful message worth sharing. This is the only show where in about 15 minutes, we're going to figure out together how we're going to stay as positive and as present as possible during COVID times. Now, before we begin today's great special video episode, please help me out and share this on your timeline because you may well know someone who will benefit from this and may even want to come on the show themselves and speak to the mindset of maybe how to run a small business in the COVID world, or how to recover profits while managing a restaurant, or how to prepare for a return into the classroom in the fall, like myself, or even how to cope with stress while working in healthcare on the front lines. Now, joining me today is my friend Allie Cope, who is a fitness coach, and she's also mastered what I consider the art and science of staying fit and healthy at home, as well as perfecting the ability to showcase positivity and health alike on social media. I'm glad to have her on the show today. Allie, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Let's patch in your video connection right now.
Okay, well, I want to go ahead and say thanks for having me, but obviously my name is Allie. I am a mom of 2 kids. I do have a full-time job, so I also work. There's a lot that I do in my free time. I like music. I obviously like to hang out with my friends. Right now it's been kind of challenging, but I'm a very, very open-minded, free spirit. So I would say I think my kids are probably the biggest motivation I've got right now. So
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed, and we started talking about this a little bit off air, was when everything shut down, a lot of people, their structure and their routines were sort of shot, sort of messed up. Even if you really weren't affected by this in the most, direct negative way. For example, one of the things that I really like to do for health is intermittent fasting.
Right.
And I gravitated more towards the one meal a day, or maybe just like, one bigger meal a day. And that really worked for me. Really, really worked for me. The problem is that the reason it worked is because I wouldn't keep a ton of food in the house. I would keep enough just for preparing for those bigger meals at, later in the day, or I would, I would have certain places I could go where I would know sort of the rough macros, and I would go and have a great experience at a restaurant and still be in a calorie deficit. The problem is, obviously that we all went to takeout, curbside, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. Some restaurants, don't get me wrong, they pulled it off pretty darn well, but wasn't a huge fan of that because it kind of killed the experience of me actually going out. And and then so a lot more cooking at home happened, but then also a lot more food at home, is just sitting there that is normally not there. So it became really difficult.
I was going to say, and then you get to the boredom eating, and I've done that. Yeah. Boredom snacking, as I always call it. So
boredom snacking, boredom eating. And
boredom snacking.
The problem is that we don't, when you don't have that sort of, you don't have, people that had the habits to begin with, right? They probably, if you have that structure, if you have that foundation, you likely, not guaranteed, but you likely will be able to apply it, and you'll, within a week or so, you'll be able to adapt to a different situation. Right. But a lot of people who maybe were only 50% there, or 2/3 of the way there, this is going to set them back even more. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So with what you're doing, what advice could you give somebody with what you do in terms of just in general? What advice could you give somebody in terms of somebody who wants to be able to really start that habit of health and fitness?
Well, I think for me, what kind of woke me up to it was I realized, everything's closed down. We kind of have a little bit more downtime to do certain things for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really happy with how I was on the fitness spectrum, or on the health spectrum, I should say, in regards to being in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I gradually just kind of started with walking 30 minutes a day. So just making sure every day I just got to walk in. I would just, about 30 minutes, just a brisk walk. And that's kind of how it started for me. I liked how I felt afterwards. I felt very refreshed. I felt very energized versus being just completely burnt out. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to go to a gym. why don't I look into something that's going to be able to help me start doing this kind of stuff at home? And I know some people also have issues with being self-conscious at gyms. And I know gyms are supposed to be a place where you feel safe and you don't feel judged. And I know some people can't get past that. So it kind of steers them away from not even trying to work on fitness. But working on it at home is a whole nother ball game, because you get to have all the privacy from being at home, and you basically call the shots on how you want to start up. But it's always starting small and gradually working your way up, because if you start too quickly and do too much, you're going to burn yourself out, and then you're not going to enjoy it. And I made sure not to do that to myself. Right. Because I've done that before, where I tried to get on like the fitness track, and then I went too hard on myself too quickly, and I just kept giving up. So I would work out, real good for 2 days, and then for, a month, I would stop. Right. So it was just me learning to gradually process how to start up. Right. And then I was able to start doing it every day. And I kind of challenged myself a little bit more every day, but you still want to do it gradually. You don't want to overdo anything ever. And it definitely helps you. It makes you want, like, I look forward to working out now every day. It's like something that's on my list of priorities to do. So
yeah, let me just say, I love how honest and introspective you are about that, because so many, and I see that not just in what you're saying now, but I want to make that clear. I've seen that in following your posts on social media, how you'll be honest if there's a workout that's particularly challenging. You would rather be one of those people that says, hey, I'm keeping it real. This was challenging. I'm glad I did it. Rather than making it sound like everything is easy. And there's a lot of people love him. A lot of people hate him. One of the people that I've taken a lot of intermittent fasting and advice from is Kino Body on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard about him.
Yeah.
And he has, he's really one of the only fitness channels I've seen that's really been able to capture how does health and fitness tie into an amazing lifestyle, Right. Because there's a lot of other people that they might make good content, but they miss that piece where they're just like, hey guys, I'm doing another vlog here, and we're going to have an amazing dinner at this steakhouse tonight, or an amazing dinner at this sushi place. And they take you through their whole day. And that's what I love about his videos. And I see that kind of mentality in the stuff that you post, and as well as just a lot of positivity. And I think that what's so cool about that is, and you're very humble in the sense that you don't want to, you're not just promoting, yourself as a fitness coach. You're actually, in my view, you're spreading positivity. That's really what you're doing. And all your, the people that follow you on social media, and your friends on Facebook, like myself, it's nice to see that somebody that's actually, because a lot of people right now, I talked about this on one of the other episodes I did recently. A lot of people, episode with Anita Myers, they're just focusing on what's the next big negative thing, the next big drama of the day. And so it's refreshing to see somebody like you, like me, we're using social media to, I call it planting flowers instead of pulling weeds. That's the way I look at it, as far as that goes. And the other thing I want to address here that's really important is some people they dismiss home workouts. I've always been one that I call it master the minimalism first, right? Not to say that all home workouts are minimalist, but you can get a really good minimalist workout doing, a couple sets of push-ups, a couple sets of planks, a couple sets of, I call them, they're like jump squats or lunges.
Yeah. And you got burpees and mountain climbers, and there's so much stuff you can do at home. Yeah.
Right. I was lifting when my girlfriend was staying with me. We had these big bags of rice, and I was using that as bicep curls. You got to get creative. That was really the only time I needed.
Yeah, you can use like larger water bottles if you don't have dumbbells. I mean, anything just to kind of give you a little extra weight. It'll kind of give you more of a bang for your buck, essentially. So
exactly. Yeah. So talk to people a little bit about, in terms of, what would you say to somebody who, because some people have such a one-dimensional, and that goes to with what I was saying about how a lot of channels and it's just about elitism and, it's all or nothing. And what would you say to somebody who's like, one-dimensional workout means I got to go to the gym. There's no such thing as working out at home. What would you say to that mentality?
Well, I think that's definitely not the right mentality to go into it with. I mean, gyms don't define what you can do with yourself in regards to your health, your fitness, anything like that. A lot of people will say that, but there's so many different options and so many different things you can do at home. Grab a chair, use your stairs. I mean, anything really. I use the chair. I've used water bottles. I've used, my kids. I've lifted my kids up. I mean, I've had them sit on my back before when I've done workouts. I mean, you can get your kids to be active with you. It kind of makes it a little bit more motivating. Really, it's just remembering that everything starts with you and not with the gym. I mean, I don't mind going to the gym. I've gone to the gym before, but I just would prefer to be at home. I feel like I'm more in control at home, and I don't have to depend on a machine I don't have to get on a machine to actively get in my exercise for the day. So my possibilities are endless, essentially, which is what I like.
Yeah, that's a very good way of looking at it. I really like the way you said that, because essentially it goes into what they say you're supposed to have an abundant mindset. Right? And the idea that there's a lot of different paths to success. And ultimately, as long as you look at, science, as long as you make a science-based, fact-based decision, after you consider that, then you can start narrowing it down to what might work best for you.
Right.
It's interesting, the just doing, I'll throw myself under the bus. I've not been consistently following, a lot of these past few months, some of my protocols that I'm supposed to follow, and I was like, I even when I would mess up dietarily or, in terms of exercise, I wouldn't really gain weight. I'm still trending, a little bit down. And I'm also sort of a hypochondriac. So it was interesting because I was like talking to my doctor and I'm like, oh, well, I want to get cancer tests because I'm losing weight and it's weight I don't deserve to lose this weight, and
this doesn't make sense.
And she was like, well, you're still doing the fasting, right? She says that could be something that just really very well works with your body.
Yeah.
She's like, talk to me if suddenly you're 190 and you're not doing anything. But as far as this slow downward trend, because I realized that 99% of the time, even if there's a day that I don't really advocate cheat days, I do more like a free meal or a refeed day. But even if there's a day that it's like a total mess, a cheat day, whatever, it's easy to make excuses. Like, well, I ate this because I didn't know later I was going to be with my girlfriend and have to eat this. And it's easy to make excuses, right?
Yeah.
But even on those days, I realized what's the one thing I was really able to stick to? The intermittent fasting. I maintained at least a 16-hour fast, which for those of you, I'll probably do more content on that. You can research that. But 16-hour fast is like, I would call that the default and / the intermediate level.
Yeah, that is, I would say that's the more common one that I know that a lot of people do is 16/8.
Right.
So,
I prefer to push it more to 18 all the way to the 24-hour. That's more advanced. But
that is.
If you're just starting off, or if you got something where you can't go that long, even just switching to 12 hours, even you're going to get some benefits. You're not going to hit ketosis or with that. But what's really cool about that, and then I try to do at least walking. Even if you can just go for a walk in the fasted state, it's like you don't have to burn through. Yeah, you don't have to burn through. So many people are like, oh, I have to eat before I exercise. But the problem with that is then you're burning that. I was going to
say, I usually will exercise first and then eat.
Right.
Because you do have to replenish your body on fuel that you have just burned off. Right. And then also, I mean, if you eat and then you go and you exercise too quickly, you're going to feel like crap, really.
Right.
I mean, you get like a stomach ache or, and it's just, it's not fun. And then you feel less motivated to give energy.
Yeah. It's always funny because I like fitness. You always see people follow that protocol, or if they're not, maybe they'll have something very light like a protein shake. But it's always funny because sometimes I watch on YouTube those people that they're usually like fitness guys, but they do those like epic cheat meal days.
Yeah,
and it's funny because they'll eat like 24 donuts and they're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym now. I'm like, how do you go to the gym after eating 24 donuts? Like, I would be sick doing that.
Yeah,
I
would
sick.
too.
Well, Allie, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you if they want any inspiring advice on fitness, especially during COVID times.
I would say probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is just on Facebook.
Okay.
You know, I'm assuming they'll be able to see it when you tag me in it on Facebook.
Yep, I will tag you. Yep.
We'll drop that, but it's just if you look up Allie Cope, you'll be able to find me. I'm probably the first person that pops up. So,
and that's so that Cope is your last name.
Yeah.
So this episode has sort of a double meaning, coping with COVID.
And that's my last name.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody else, thank you thank you so much for joining us. And for everybody else, please remember to share this on your timeline if you will. And definitely press that like button. And join us next time for Coping with COVID 15-minute Power Podcasts.